What up, though? Poetry and Conversations. I'd like to welcome you. Trending topics. Trending hip hop topics, that is. We're going to talk about Heavy D today. Heavy D and the Boyz. And this recent so-called rant by Pete Rock, which is Heavy D's cousin. And he speaks on how, why Heavy D is not given a tribute, although he's passed away, somehow not being involved with the whole hip-hop 50-year run that a lot of people have been going on. So we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about it. You come on in. Gonna pull up. Yeah, I got my cup on deck today. I'm telling what's gonna come out my mouth today. We about to talk about it. Heavy D and the Boyz do. I'm telling you that they do. I agree. And a lot of other MCs was coming out and saying that they agree about it too. Snoop that came out, said he agreed. Queen Latifah, a couple others, Red Alert. I'm gonna try to find a post, but according to this interview, well, not interview, my article by Hip Hop DX, I tried to click on the link. I think he took down his Instagram post. I'm not sure. But the overall topic is Heavy D, he do deserve it. He deserves more notoriety. He deserves to be in the conversation. He deserves to be talked about, celebrated. And I do understand that this is close and dear to his heart, but that's his cousin, which is Pete Rock. And for those not informed, let's just talk about it real quick. I'm gonna read a little bit from the article that's coming from Hip Hop DX. Shout out to Hip Hop DX, which influenced some of this video that even I'm making. So Snoop Dogg and Queen Latifah are in agreement with Pete Rock that Heavy D and the Boyz deserve more recognition in the Hip Hop 50 celebration. The legendary producer took to Instagram on Tuesday, July 11th, to issue a PSA about his late cousin's lack of inclusion in the 50th anniversary tribute that have been thrown on various networks, companies, and institutions throughout this year, which is true. Pete Rock says, I respect absolutely none of this talk about 50 years of hip hop that does not include Heavy D and the Boyz. He kicked down the door and paved the way for a lot of motherfuckers. That's what he said. Which I'm in agreement so far. He did. We're gonna get into it though. I think his smoothness, Pete Rock says, I think his smoothness and humbleness makes people forget his impact and relevance in the music business. He continued, I need everyone who agrees to repost and share so we can get Hev a proper televised tribute for his achievements and contributions to the game. Man, let's talk about it. Heavy D. Heavy D and the Boyz. What did they bring to the table? Let's talk about it. What did they bring to the table that we still see now? Which is even more of a valid point. Although we had LL with the smooth charisma to make the songs, to talk to the ladies. You know, you had your LLs, Big Daddy Kane, you know, guys just being smooth, stuff like that. But what Heavy D did, though, to the industry and game, it kind of was similar to Big Daddy Kane, I agree. Because you got to remember, Heavy D, he had dancers. We'll try to remember his dancer's name, too. I remember one of them passed away. I think that was his cousin also. I remember he actually passed away, if I recall correctly. It was a part of dancing. I think he hit his head or something. What was Heavy? Trouble T. Roy. Trouble T. Roy, that was the name. Because actually, that's who, if you refer over to P. Rock and CL Smooth song, when they reminisce over you, T-R-O-Y, that was Troy, Trouble T. Roy. That's what they were talking about in the song. So it's all a family and a cohesive thing that was going on with that. But let me get to what I was talking about as far as dancing. Having background dancers. That wasn't done too much in hip hop. I mean, of course, you had the DJ. Shout out to Eddie F too. Because he didn't progress and did a lot. And you gotta remember, all these things I'm saying right now, it reverts right back to Heavy D. So these couple things I done said in them 2 little minutes of just talking about other people, that still come back to Heavy D. So that's walking towards legend status right there, to be in the conversation of when you talk at Hip Hop 50. How can you not? I mean, somewhere in it. And I don't even know who all the people is that they even got in the whole Hip Hop 50 that they've been showing. And some of it I've been keeping up with, some of it I haven't. But to come across this article and hear about how P. Rock is enraged or feel how he feels, it definitely makes sense. It makes sense for him to be included. Because he was just a big, lovable guy, even if you didn't know him. The whole energy of him. He was on TV shows and all that stuff early. I mean, even though before he passed away, he still was acting and on a couple of shows. But it's still like way back in the late 80s and 90s. Heavy D was making that transition early from rappers being in movies. And I want to say it might even be bumping into the time when Ice-T and Ice Cube first started. Because they were the first main rappers that I remember that was in a movie. I mean, that definitely made us want to go to the show as hip hop kids and hip hop babies to see a movie. I remember Trespass. That was Ice Cube and Ice-T, which the movie really didn't meet up to the hype. I say, not the front of the movie like that, but I remember it was so much publicity around it. Because I remember the movie was actually supposed to be called Looters. I just remember being a youngin', we were just so amped up and ready just to see some rappers in the movie. But around that time, if it ain't too many years later, Heavy D was caught up in that action. He was on TV shows. I remember him being on A Different World. I remember that episode clear as day. I remember him being on that episode of that auditorium talking to Whitney. and she wanted she wanted somebody else to be on the she wanted somebody else to be on the itinerary, but Dwayne, Wayne, and Ryan, they hooked up with Heavy D and got him to perform on the show. I remember that episode just clear as day. Mr. Blunt, Dilly Dilly D. That's another thing with credit. He was one of them rappers who come up with a saying, so to speak. He did that. How many rappers? Okay, like right now, how Jeezy, well, Jeezy do got Gia, but MC8 had Gia also. How rappers be having certain little tags and stuff like that they always say. Heavy D was one of those. Dilly 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 dee. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. Dilly 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 dee. We got our own thing. Not to mention the Teddy Riley connection. The whole aura of that. He had impacted that whole New Jack Swing just era period. I mean, let's talk about it. We walking down the street, we talking about it. So let's get on it. Heavy was a part of that. When you talk New Jack Swing, he's in the conversation. When you talk being on TV shows, he's in the conversation. Being one of the early rappers who was jumping in movies. What was that? Who Was the Man? I want to say he was in Who Was the Man. And I wouldn't be surprised if he had some on the back end with just Uptown period. Not, we got Soul for Real. Come on, man. We and when I'm saying these things, I ain't saying that all these different bits and pieces of things that he did take him just to the highest plateau of the list. But he definitely do need to be in the conversation. Even though Soul for Real didn't just go super crazy, but Candy Rain is forever. That's one of them songs. That song is forever. I mean, you can say what you want to say, but Candy Rain is a song that's forever. That got Heavy D hands in it. He do need to be in the conversation. They can have them do a piece of a song. Like I said, we got the dancing. We got just the charisma of just being entertainment, having a whole layout of a show. Like Big Daddy Kane did. All of that come full circle to Echo and Heavy name. He deserved it. I mean, no question. What Pete Rock said is true. And he was associated with the whole Uptown energy, New York undercover, all that. When you think of Andre Harrell, you think of Heavy. You think of the early Teddy Riley. You think of Heavy. They could put a couple of songs in there. He had them Jeep beats too. What's that? Money Earning, Mount Vernon, all that. That Living Large album. I remember that album coming to this day. And that's another thing too. Dressing up. Putting on suits. When Heavy D performed, he reverted back to the suits. Run DMC and everybody else ran from the suits and went back to the streetwear. Heavy D was up there with Class, dancing and singing. He was up there with Class performing with a suit on. The hot top, a big guy. We ain't gonna leave that out either. I mean, we ain't gonna play that game over here. I'm gonna be real and just straight to it. Big guy. Big fella shit. Heavy D was the one that made that shit smooth. Even though you had the Fat Boys and all that, the Fat Boys was being laughed at. Fat Boys was a little bit more comical, so to speak. Even though they still were respected, but there was a 3-man group. And it was associated with Crush Groove and all that, Run DMC. But Fat Boys was kind of a addition that you would laugh at, so to speak. It was comical. Disorderlies, You know, if y'all remember the movie This Sort of Leaves, that's legend status. Don't get me wrong. That was groundbreaking. But when it comes to a big guy like Heavy, he was coming with the energy of, nah, we smoother than that. We got suits on. We got the hot top. We get the ladies. We got the car, all that. That's what Heavy was on. Heavy D and the Boyz. Give that man his credit. Put that man in the conversation. Somewhere in between. He deserved 5 minutes up in there somewhere. It's non-negotiable, you know? The streets know it. Streets know it. I would try to see if I can find his Instagram post. You have people like Cool DJ Red Alert, Easy Mo B, Marlon Wayans, Omari Hardwick, all co-signed P. Rock's clan. You have to concur. As special as they come. That's what Omari wrote in the comments. Heavy D, real name White Myers, was a Jamaican-born rapper, producer, and actor. That was the other guy named G Wiz. G Wiz and Trouble T. Now, I remember Trouble T. Like I say, he passed away. I remember that. And when it comes to him up there with that energy, dancing, creating, that was powerful. Especially at a time when hip hop was considered rough and street, supposed to be raw. And you have somebody like him with that type of claim that comes out and say, hey, we all about the ladies. This ain't nothing to laugh at over here. We dancing, we grooving. That's why one of the lead off singles was, he was making his own lane. That's why he said, we got our own thing. We got our own thing. I remember that shit. What is he talking about? We got our own thing. It was room for all of that. So when it comes to the conversation, I'm planning to put Heavy in there, man. Shout out to P. Rock, legendary producer. And what's so funny, this was so crazy. And P. Rock's talking and what he's saying, he was saying that his line was, I think people forget. He says, I think his smoothness and humbleness makes people forget his impact and relevance in the music business. You know what's so crazy? I feel the same thing about P. Rock. What P. Rock just said about Heavy D, that's how I think the industry is going to relate to P. Rock's legacy, forbid if something happens to him. Because sometimes you can be so humble in this game and you can get overlooked. It happens all the time. P. Rock just said that about Heavy D, but P. Rock can get overlooked also for his contributions to hip hop. Sometimes you have to speak up for yours. Fuck it. This industry is like that. They'll forget you in a minute and let you pass away. They'll give you a couple years, but it's going to be up to somebody, the people, to keep your name alive and keep you moving and grooving and in the conversation. And that's why I agree with P Rock, because he gotta have people champion him, his post on like that. People do need to get up and just say that, nah, put Heavy somewhere in the mix of this shit. But that man did enough. I mean, just the whole style, the style of just having game and being able to move in a room full of all this, the cussing. Heavy D, he didn't cuss like that. And you gotta remember, this when gangster rap was at its peak. All of it. You had your NWAs, Ghetto Boys, whoever, East Coast, all these different records. The Heavy D was still, no, we smooth up here. He even had that song, Don't Curse. If I remember correctly, I do remember, but I want to say it without looking at it. But it was somebody on that song that was like their debut song. I don't know if it was Biggie on that song. Somebody was on Don't Curse. I guess I got to look it up. Try not to cheat and look it up. I want to just say it without looking it up. But it was a song he had on, I want to say the Peaceful Journey album. One of them albums, he had a song called Don't Curse, because it was like some guest spots on that song. Somebody can put it in the comments though who knows. It's a hip hop it's a hip hop head out there who know what I'm talking about. He had a song called Don't Curse, and somebody was on. I remember Cool G Rap was on there, but it was a young somebody who ended up popping. I don't know why for some reason I want to say Biggie for some reason. It wasn't Nas, was it Nas? No, Nas was on Live at the Barbecue. That was his thing. It was somebody on that song, Don't Curse. I just don't remember who it is. It'll come to me later. But for a person like him too, your association can make you legendary status. Now all can't do this. Everybody can't do this. But sometimes, yes, your association can make you legendary status. Because equately, when you that hidden hand and a lot of things that happen, that get you respect. They can take your legacy further, even after you're gone. That's why I say something as simple as Soul for Real Candy Rain. I mean, I don't know about what city y'all in and where y'all from, but that song still gets rotation around these parts. I'm talking about on nationwide radio. Still in rotation. Everybody has a legacy to maintain. So the question is Billboard going to do something about it? Is Billboard going to... Matter of fact, who in charge of this whole... Well, I guess it shouldn't be nobody in charge, but what the hell I say Billboard for anyway? Why Billboard? I don't even know what I just said Billboard for. Billboard ain't got to do shit. They done did enough fucking up for the last couple months on the list. But the people that's narrating the whole Hip Hop 50, who's giving approval, because of course it's a stage director for most of these shows. But there's so many people that's eating off this whole Hip Hop 50 anniversary. I'm talking about people coming all out of the woodwork just because it's a Hip Hop 50, going on shows and associating their shows with the title of celebrating Hip Hop 50. It's like everybody just eating right now this year. If you got any type of hand or been around some years from hip hop, it's like you could just eat right now. You could just do a show and you say, okay, we celebrate 50 years of hip hop. I had this one song in 91. Put me on the show. which is not bad. Everybody need to eat, gotta eat, should eat. So shout out to everybody who's benefiting off of the culture in a good way. That's why I said good way. Because if you're a part of it, you should be able to go out and do a show. You was a part of hip hop in the 80s and 90s. You should be able to find a way to get paid and do a show. Besides it being 50 years of hip hop. And if you think about it, 50 years is still young. Especially at the ages that we had. But I understand we complain so much. And there's so many ins and outs to it. But again, like I said, I haven't been watching too many of the celebrations thereof. All I keep hearing about is the MC side of it. But the DJs, the breakdance, the graffiti, it's still people around. So when you get your just due, when Heavy get his just due, I think he should. I'm gonna hit y'all off with my poem of peace. That one I wrote called Let's Talk Music. We'll slow this down real quick. Listen to me. Thinking of hip hop and music. Equate this in there somewhere. Because the more things change, they stay the same. Listen to me. I said it's not that my hip hop was better than yours. But hey, shit, my hip hop was better than yours. Now see, I ain't trying to separate. Cause see, for every crank that Soldier Boy, there was the Humpty Dance. Yeah. Whipping that nay-nay, hitting the quine to a dude on the corner, some tight-ass Adidas pants and a B-boy stance. But see, we was hip-hop. You see, Salt and Pepper, MC Light, and Queen Latifah, Heavy D can all hold their own. But see, y'all wanted Nicki to stand alone and by another female get knocked off the throne. Bone gave us Harmony. Now what a coincidence. Cause see, now that sound like today's R&B. You see no more love ballads. Just a bunch of rap singing dudes talking about how high they want to get you and how they want to get the pussy. Snoop had a song Gin and Juice. The Chronic was finally introduced. Cash Money took over for the 99 and 2000, but her mama was already popping that coochie for Luke. Hell, it's the truth. You see, it ain't nothing new to discover. All the way down to the fashion, to the artist never asking about these demonic ass symbols in Borderland album covers. Yeah, ass album covers. That the 70s started. Yeah, that the 70s started. Question. Why Jeffrey Osborne and LTD on them album covers ain't have on no shirts? Isley Brothers, Isaac Hayes, Al Green, all cleaned up like pimps. Go on your mama base, write the dust off the records, nigga, do your research. Cause see, the first to make me think, raise my fists, it was Chuck and Chris. Red, black, and green before we saw delicious ass. Flavor Flav was trying to tell us what time it is. Cause see, we used to rewind shit. See, I was one of them kids in the mirror with the broom, the voice of the streets. Hip hop used to keep us all in tune. See, I'm in love with the culture, but I ain't one of them old heads that's stuck in the past. But lately, y'all have been on some bullshit. Mainstream hip hop and kiss my ass. Man, these niggas trash. Only the real gon' last. Raptalk. That's that poem of peace. Yeah. So y'all give Heavy D his props. Give him 5 minutes, a couple minutes, 1 minute, 2 minutes. Get some dancing up there. He was the before Biggie. If you recall, remember he was even in Biggie video, that One More Chance and all that. Biggie would tell you back then. You know how many big guys Heavy D gave confidence to? It was a reason Biggie said, heartthrob never, black and ugly as ever. It was a play on confidence because of people like Heavy D that was big guys. And not to mention, we're gonna play the whole game, we're gonna play the weight game, and we're gonna play the complexion game. Let's just talk about it. The whole colorism of it. Light-skinned guys were in back then. You had Al B. Shore and them just being real big. Matter of fact, that's association he is too. I want to say him and Al B. Shore is family, but they're not family. That's Al B. Shore and Christopher Williams, they family. That whole light skin shit. All three of them dudes running around. And I bet they was tearing the East Coast up, knocking down some of everything when they all was popping. You had Heavy D, Christopher Williams, Al B. Shore, all them. Man, you can't tell me they weren't going crazy. Oh yeah, it was a time. I mean, it's like licensed girls never play out for the most part, as far as society and Hollywood. But back then, on the hip hop scene and the rap and that whole pretty boy look, oh yeah, it was coming. If you was light skinned, you was getting called upon one way or another. The barge, El DeBarge, oh man, let's talk about it. I mean, we can't just turn our backs on the colorism is a factor when it comes to the look, especially in Hollywood and hip hop. It is a thing. But we're gonna see where they take it. We're gonna see if we get called upon. I don't know who could be equated to do his raps or who could be used as part of the tribute. Eddie F still around. He did a lot of producing. Like he did the whole Donnell Jones, a lot of that stuff. The production and bringing Donnell Jones out, big tunes. What's the joint with TLC? The Donnell Jones thing? I'm dead, you know what's up. Man, that's off the tree of Heavy D right there. I mean, let's make the tree. You got all of that. But we're gonna see what we do. We're gonna see what the masses do and how they work it out and play it out. I'll get with y'all in a minute. Be sure to comment, share the video to make the channel grow. Get you some of this merch too while you at it. Intelligence is sexy. Spread the movement. Especially all y'all beautiful women out there. If you want them t-shirts and influence some young lady up under you. Get with y'all in a minute though. Raptalk.